Evidence of active management of private voluntary pension funds in Colombia, a performance analysis using proxy ETFs. Introduction. One of the main reasons why investors invest in a particular kind of of risky asset is to seek a higher rate of return rather than the one they can obtain by investing in a safer asset. It's not a secret that individual investors tend to diversify risk by holding a portfolio in the hope that the gains obtained by a particular stock or bond can offset the losses of other assets that are part of the investor's portfolio. Given the fact that investing in financial assets involves a considerable amount of risk, and that in why for the average individual investors the cost of nine and storing a diverse portfolio is quite prohibitive. The common practice is that the individual investor seeks the help of specialized institutions that offers a range of managed portfolios, usually called mutual funds, where the investors can invest in tailored products according to his specific needs. Of course, the institution charge a fee to the investor in the return on the service offered. They usually engage in the process of active management, which means that they use their clients' eh, clients' money to buy and sell securities in a frequent basis in order to beat a specific benchmark, such a market or specific sector index, so they can obtain a higher return than the one reserved for the benchmark in a similar period of time. In Colombia, there are different kinds of institutions that offers the service. The Colombian private pension fund, the most important one, if the value of asset under management is taken into account. However, guide the myriad of finance innovation in recent years is not possible for the individual investor to invest direct directly in production that mimic or replicate the returns of the most popular market indices of particular sector indices at relatively low cost and without the risks involved in active management. There's products are Canoe in the industry as exchange traded funds (ETFs). They relatively low cost and without the risk involved in active management. Their products are commonly now is the industry as exchange traded funds. ETFs. Therefore, the purpose of the present paper is to find evidence that the Colombian private pension funds obtain higher returns for their clients than the ones that can be obtained by investing passively in replicating benchmark production as ATFAs. Back background 1.1. What are ATFs? An ETF is very similar to a mutual fund, basically because both hold a portfolio of securities. The main difference between the two often is that an ETF can be sold and bought as any common stock. Roanoke, the any common the business day, whereas the net asset value NAV units of a mutual fund portfolio is calculated at the end of the day. This means that any transaction of a particular investor involving the selling and buying of NEF units of a mutual fund usually takes a business day in the order to be effective as opposed to an ETF transaction that can be done immediately at market prices. The first ETF was created in 1993 and was traded at American Stock Exchange. An ETF share is simply a common stock that gives of ownership over a pool of asset deposited in a trust. The process of creating an ETF is quite simple. It begins when a financial institution buys a portfolio of securities and deposits them with third party. The trustee as a separate legal entity, the trustee can then issue common stock based on the value of the securities under custody, and the common stock are given back of the financial institution that own the portfolio so they can be traded to a third party of investor as ETFs shares. One of the main features of ATA is that most of them are designed to track a specific market or economic sector index. This feature is paramount importance because it allows the individual investor to hold a stock that is diversified portfolio insets the with the futures of a common stock transactions. This means that the investor can buy the ETFs of managing or sell the ETF according to market perception. For example, the Power Shake ETF holds at the stock that compose the Nasdaq 100. The return on its shares is highlight correlate with the one of the index. However, most ETFs like equity mutual funds suffer from what is called a tracking error, which means that the ETFs are not perfectly correct why in the indices they are supposed to replicate. However, for practical investment purpose, the correlation tends to be quite high, and most of the difference can be explained by the operation expenses charged by the ETF's administration and the bid-ask spread of trading days. The growth of the ETF industry is quite overwhelming. In 1995, there were only two ETFs available to investors managing 1 billion in assets. By the year 2006, this figure had grown to 335 billion assets distributed in more than 263 ETFs that covered a wide variety of market and sector indices as well as commodities benchmarks. One of the factors that can explain the increase in popularity of ETFs is the fact that the administrator of this kind of products a passive managing, which means that they only buy and sell securities of the trust when the composition of the asset of the index that the ETFs is mm, trying to replicate changes for some reason. As opposite to mutual funds where the administrator act as active managers selling and buying stock in order to try to beat their respective investment benchmark. This is why many investors see the ETFs as an investment alternative that allows them to hold a diversified portfolio at low cost with an easy benchmark to follow, as opposite to the traditional mutual fund administrator works. Fund returns can be affected negatively by bad timing and selectivity decision by the fund management. Bueno, el texto como tal, pues explica como que muchos inversionistas buscan como mayores rendimientos, invirtiendo pues como en activos riesgosos, pero como para reducir el riesgo suelen pues como diversificar su dinero en portafolios que incluyen diferentes activos como acciones, bonos, debido a que pues a que crear y administrar un portafolio diversificado puede ser pues como costoso para un inversionista solo. Muchas personas recurren pues como a instituciones financieras como fondos mutuos o fondos de pensión que le administran pues como el dinero a ellos. Estas instituciones normalmente practican pues como una gestión activa, es decir, pues que compran y venden activos con frecuencia para intentar como superar el rendimiento en un índice de referencia que se llama benchmark, creo. Y pues sin embargo también existen productos como los ETFs que son pues que estos siguen como un índice del mercado y se administran pues como de forma pasiva, lo que generalmente implica pues como menores costos. El texto también pues describe como el crecimiento de los fondos privados, de las pensiones en Colombia y que manejan pues como grandes cantidades de dinero y ofrecen diferentes fondos de inversión. Finalmente, pues como el objetivo del estudio era analizar si los fondos de pensión privados colombianos logran como obtener los mayores rendimientos que los ETFS. Es decir, pues como que si la gestión activa realmente supera las inversiones pasivas basadas pues como en los índices. Eso es como lo que decía como el texto y lo que aprendí pues como en este caso.